Oh, yeah.
2008, I said. Yes, no, I finished up there.
You're going to take a photo? That's got to be on your next page. That's got to be.
Good evening, everyone. We've got
2008, I said.
That's better. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Services Committee this evening. We are live streaming to YouTube. The technology is working this evening, all of us, so we're all live. And can I ask for apologies for absence, please, Ryan?
Yeah, so we've got apologies from councillors Matt Bell, Kevin Brooks, Tim Young and Oz Kendry.
Thank you very much. Just before we take a vote on that, just to note that Kevin Brooks is currently out in Ukraine, so it's worth noting, and I think applauding his efforts there that he's doing with the local lines. Do I have a proposer for those apologies? Councillor Frost, a seconder. Councillor Tewkesbury. All those in acceptance of the apologies, show of hands. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now move forward for item 3, declarations of interest. Is there any declarations regarding anything on the agenda? Has anything been received in the office, Ryan?
No, none could notify.
If any members do have anything that comes up during the meeting, obviously do let us know. Item 4 on the agenda is the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a proposer? Comments on those minutes?
Yeah, copy first.
Proposed by Councillor Taylor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Todd. All those in favour, show of hands. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 5 of the agenda this evening, which is councillor questions. I've been notified of a question from Councillor Luke Wakeling, which I'll take under item 8, if that's okay. Councillor Gray, here was any item you wish to speak to today?
8 and 9.
8 and 9, okay, I'll bring you in on those items. Is there any other members of the committee that have questions? No. Item 6 on our agenda this evening is public questions. Don't believe we've received any public questions submitted, and there's no members of the public present here this evening. But just take the opportunity to remind anyone out there that may be watching this back. We do accept questions regarding services that the Town Council do provide, and you can submit any questions for the Services Committee by emailing the office at weymouthtowncouncil.gov.uk. So moving on swiftly then to the transfer of additional benches from Dorset Council, which is item 7 on our agenda. I'm going to welcome our resort manager, Will, to present the item.
Thank you, Chair. Dorset Council has conducted a review and selected a further 14 benches for the possibility to transfer to Weymouth Town Council. This move will help reporting of damage and inquiries about memorialisation, with the Town Council taking on the responsibility for maintenance and future upkeep. To help this transfer, Dorset Council has confirmed a payment of a one-off fee of £1,000 if we were to accept. This came in quite late after my report was submitted, so to confirm, the Dorset Council will pay a one-off fee of £1,000.
Thank you very much, Will. It's probably worth noting what we discussed in the briefing, that the majority of these benches will be new installed ones, won't they?
Yes, 6 of them are fallen stone. They're in very, very good condition. 2 of them have been replaced within the past couple of years. 4 brand new, and 2 of them we can't actually see the condition of at the moment because they are out in the works along the harbour wall. However, the harbour team have assured us that they will be up to a good standard on transfer.
Thank you very much. So Members, before we open this up, it's just worth considering the last lot of benches we had, we did have a significant more amount given to us, but the benches were in a quite poor condition and needed substantive amount of work. Whereas these benches coming to us will be better condition, hence the reduced fee. So that's worth considering when we have discussions. Going to bring Councillor David Gray in first and then open it up for committee discussion.
I support it, and that's not very much money, but a few reasons really. One, some of these stone benches, the newer ones, are not memorialised at the moment. So we've got an opportunity there to memorialise them, which will gain some income. They were very generous, I think, in the last round with the 20,000. So I'd support that, and it tidies up, I think, the sort of benches issue really. It's been going on, but I hope this is the end of the sort of benches saga. But if we've got full control, then we know what we can budget for each year. So I support Will's point on this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gray. Opening up then, anyone on the committee wish to speak to the item? Councillor Furman.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick one. Are there any number of outstanding benches that we currently, after, if this is implemented, do we have a number of benches that are still in Dorset Council control? I'm just trying to think, will we be met with another sort of request, down the line, or are we sort of looking at quite a well-rounded sort of, gathering of all the benches under our control sort of thing?
From discussions with the Harbour team, this is all of their benches that they are sort of in control of. So yeah, there should be, please don't quote me on that, but yeah, it should be the last of it.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Roos.
I'm going to speak against it. I might be the only one. But in my experience, when we were under wing for Portland Borough Council, sometimes benches were vandalised, broken, things went wrong, and it was actually quite costly, probably more than £1,000 sometimes to sort out benches. It's quite a hefty bill and quite a chore sometimes. And I understand that a lot of them are new. But I feel like this is just another way of Dorset Council putting more responsibility onto us. We gave residents a reduction in our council tax. Dorset Council didn't, they increased theirs. So really they should take more responsibility and continue the responsibilities that they have.
Councillor James.
I just want to mention something, after Councillor Roos. I've been looking for a bench, as Will knows, and somebody from Dorset Waste said to me they've been asked to remove a bench from the town centre recently because it's been vandalised. I think it had happened over the Young Farms, but they weren't certain. And he said, oh, if Dorset Council don't want it, you can have it for a project. But unfortunately, Dorset Council did want it. So they had a vandalised bench. I don't know what they've done with it, whether that's going to be one of the ones that they will hand over to us at some point, but apparently it's in the town centre. But I'd also like to ask about, now you've mentioned there are stone benches by the pavilion, and recently a group of us had got together and we were going to ask about having a stone bench installed that we were going to pay for. The council would only have to give us permission, and I was told we couldn't do it because it would set a precedent that you already have stone benches. So if we can't do it, we can't do it, but I'd just like to highlight the fact that being told that it was set a precedent to have stone benches when we've already got them is a bit disingenuous. And, you know, it would have been nice to have had this bench because it wasn't going to cost the council a penny, it was just permission. So I'd just like to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So sorry, hang on, Councillor, because I was just going to give Will. Do we know about the bench that was removed from the town, obviously under the resort? Because obviously all those benches are now under our control, so Dorset Council.
Dorset Waste said they'd had to pick it up and.
Charmaine?
Yeah, I've made note of that, Chair, and we've got to pull it out with the
Yeah.
We was obviously having responsibility for those, so they shouldn't be removing them without our approval.
But it was broken or something, so.
Yeah. Before I bring you in, Councillor Dickinson, I think we always fair to say that we've got a new bench policy now, Councillor James. So if there is a request from a group follow the policy, put the application in, and it can come to committee for
The point
consideration.
is the request was made before the policy was brought in.
Obviously, we now got the policy,
But
so
I've been told that it's only, there's nothing in that policy saying you can't have a stone bench. And I did question, is there something to say what the benches have got to be made of? I can't find anything in that policy.
well, like I said, we've got the policy now, so put the application, it can come back to services for approval or discussions.
I'll see if they want to carry on, because it was quite costly for them to raise the funds, but I'll ask them.
Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think there's 2 points that we ought to take into consideration. Dorset Council's policy is if a bench is damaged, they take it away and don't replace it. So we could end up with down the harbour no benches. That is a possibility. So I just thought we should be all aware of that. I've forgotten what the second thing. Sorry, Chair.
That's right, if it comes back, councillor Dickinson, then obviously that's no. Councillor Taylor.
Can I just ask, sorry, I'm very much in favour of this, actually, I think it's something that we ought to do. But can I just ask about a couple of benches that I only found the other day, and I don't know whether they belong to us now. If you go, you know where the car park is outside the front of the pavilion? And the benches that we're looking at, if you go across the car park, up onto Custom House Quay, there's some benches up there that I found the other day. Are they ours? They are. Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Gray, you want to come back in?
Well, Charmaine's already highlighted the point that Dorset Waste Partnership don't have the authority to remove benches from, they're not Dorset Council benches, they are Weymouth Town Council benches. So I'd like to formally ask them to replace the bench because they took our property without our damn permission. So can we ask them to replace the bench, or we'll charge them putting the bench back? Because in our opinion of what's damaged is different to what Dorset Council's view is of what's damaged. And we could have, the whole point was that we could spend some more time perhaps repairing some of the benches that we've got. So they don't have any benches. That was point number 1. Number 2 is that I think you're probably finding out that Dorset Council don't know what they've got either. So it may well be that my advice would be assume that all benches in Weymouth boundaries belong to us.
I think it's the guys that, sorry.
They might not be on the asset list. We probably need to highlight those from that point of view. So can we ask also partnership, please?
It was the guys at the depot that I'd spoken to, and he said that they've had to, I can't believe if they were going to repair it.
Well, we got that action anyway, so
Yeah,
the assistant town clerk will take that on board
Yeah.
as requested. Councillor Dickinson, you remembered.
Yes, the second point is, if these benches need repairing, I see it as an opportunity for Tumbledown Farm to take these benches on, and they could do it as part of within the community. And that could be a possibility for Tumbledown Farm, that we could say, we've got 4 benches this year that need repairing. Can you help us out?
good idea.
Mention.
Councillor Dickinson, we can certainly take that away, and I can speak to
Yeah.
Ben Heath to see if they can incorporate it into their project work.
Okay then,
Good idea.
got nobody else wishing to indicate to speak. Do I have anyone wishing to make a proposal on this item? Councillor Dickinson.
I'll propose that we go by the recommendation that the committee agrees to accept the transfer of the 14 additional benches from Dorset Council.
So we've had a recommendation to move forward as the officer's recommendation in the paper. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Taylor. Would anyone like to speak directly to that recommendation? No, I'm going to move to the vote then. All those in favour of the recommendation, show of hands. Looks you. Yeah. So that's 8-4. Those against? 1 against.
I'll be the one.
Should be, any abstentions? Yeah, so that was 9-4, yes. The recommendation is carried. Thank you very much, Will. And If you want to disappear off home, you're more than welcome to. Okay, we're going to move on to item E8, which is the group bins. I'm going to ask the assistant town clerk to introduce the item. We're then going to have the question submitted by councillor Wakeling on this. And again, I'll invite councillor Gray and then open up discussions. Over to you, Charmaine.
Thanks, Chair. The committee has been asked to consider taking on ownership of long-term responsibility for roadside brick bins. Within Weymouth, there are currently 26 salt bins for the town, 11 of these are community bins and 15 strategic. Members of the public are free to use the bins and council staff are required, there's no staff input from officers or parks staff, for example. Dorset Council do not provide salt bins and are claiming it's capped at the choice of town parish council to go require salt bins within their communities. Both strategic and community bins are stopped at the start of the season by Dorset Council, and it's the opinion of what offers the Dorset Council that the whip tends to last for the whole season, the whole winter season. If they do need to be replaced or refilled, that would be a cost that the town council would have to take into consideration. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Charmaine. Before we go on into discussion, can I ask you to read the points made by councillor Wakeling?
So earlier on today, councillor Wakeling sent a statement into the office. High Committee, regarding transfer of community brick bins to Weymouth Town Council, according to the Highways Act 1980, section 41, paragraph 1A, a highway authority is under a duty to ensure, so far as it is reasonably practical, that safe passage along the highway is not endangered by snow or ice. In our circumstances, the highway authority is the council, and taking reasonable practical steps, e.g. providing the brick bin is their statutory duty. I strongly object to Weymouth Town Council funding things that Dorset Council is legally obliged to provide. Our residents are repaying tax bills to council to provide these things, and if we also fund them, our residents then are paying twice. Further, I feel we need to communicate why we don't provide these things better with residents. It's all well and good us having some principles, but if Dorset Council are receiving messages on their website like Arty Town Council, and people will directly being clear of our responsibility. I would ask the committee to not only refuse to express, but also ask our company to create a new webpage on our website with things that Weymouth Town Council does not do with similar.
Thank you very much, Charmaine. Councillor Gray next.
Yeah, beat to the punch. My issue with this is the fact that we're not the statutory authority for highways, which this falls under. So I don't want to say any more, but this creep of services we've got to guard against. So it sounds like it's not too much work, sounds like it, but assuming responsibility is. So I would urge you not to vote for this and send a message back to Dorset Council that we're not going to take on their services.
Councillor Rose.
Councillor Wakeling took the words right out of my mouth. But I have to say, I think it's a bit of a cheek, especially when they won't consider us for things like our boundaries and the things that we want and need. And next, what are they going to be asking us to fill in the potholes around town because, they haven't got the resources? It's not our responsibility. I assume that schools and supermarkets pay for their own brick bins. So there will be organisations who already want to pay to have those put in place. So we're talking about areas that technically are probably highways and highways responsibility. And I think it should stay there. We, it's that old reminder again, I'll say it again. We reduced our council tax for residents this year and Dorset Council increased theirs. So they should take responsibility for what they are charging residents for.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rose. Councillor Lambert.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think I'd like to thank Councillor Wakeling for nailing this with the actual legal information. We shouldn't be accepting this. This is a Dorset Council responsibility, clearly, in my view. Thank you.
Councillor Toft.
I'm just curious, because I looked through the list and I can't understand why one of the steepest roads in Weymouth, then Ascot Road, doesn't actually have a grip bin, according to this list.
Should I? We should have one about halfway up.
Probably answer that.
It's not,
Half still.
anyway, I'll just. Yeah.
It doesn't need one because it's on the main Britain route.
I'm informed.
Sorry.
Councillor Taylor.
When you go back to Dorset Council, and I think just listening to what everybody's saying here, we are going to reject it. The thing that I picked up on, which I'm sure Graham will pick up on as well, is about the environmental problems of this. Can we say to them that we don't want your brick bins, and really, can you come up with some alternative that is going to be better and not damage the environment in the way that the current salt that they're using does?
And it's expensive.
Because I don't want that on our roads, to be quite honest.
Councillor Roos.
Just really quickly, I want to support Luke's suggestion of putting maybe on our website exactly what we do and don't do as a council, so that residents aren't misled by the discourse that Dorset Council are putting out about us regularly.
Yeah.
Councillor Toft.
Just to say that I did read into the issue of salt on an environmental level when the papers came, and there isn't actually an alternative that has been looked at by various groups. And the only alternative is in some cases they can put down sand to increase traction. So it's it's not something that anybody has come up with an alternative to yet, but I think people are looking.
Okay, thank you.
Okay then, members, I've got no one else looking to speak. Just before we go to the vote, I just want to put my view on this is Dorset Council have identified these grip bins as two different classes. One is strategic grip bins on more significant roads. The second is community grip bins. So taking the tact of Councillor Wakeling, I would say that the strategic grip bins are those that would actually fall under Dorset Council's authority and requirement to do. The community grip bins, I know from experience, and Councillor James and Councillor Taylor will know, were requests or funded by local community groups. The ones on Norfolk Road, Western Community Group campaign and raised the money for that. And I know that two residents used to live like they used to go and put the salt out. So I think we need to set this we need to take that into consideration, that actually they probably do have a requirement for the strategic bins, but the community grip bins is more something that the community requested the community to put in place. And does it actually require it to be there? The other thing I was interested in, obviously they've given us the cost of refill and how much it costs per ton, but we don't actually know what their current spend is on this service. You know, are they having to refill the grip bins every year? And again, I talk from experience of on Norfolk Road. Can't remember the last time the grip was actually put out on the road, so it could be full. So, you know, we do need to understand the requirement of these bins, especially in the community service, and if we are going to take them on. And I have to say, there probably is an environmental benefit to us taking it on, because we can manage the service at a more local level. At the moment, Dorset Council were refilling the grip bins all from a central office and sending vans down into Weymouth to top them up. If we were maintaining them at a local level, we'd be filling the bins up with our electric vehicles and reduce, so there would be an improved environmental impact. So yes, I understand Dorset Council has the responsibility for highways. If we take that approach, we may be at risk of losing the community grip bins because their community request one's not something Dorset Council seen or has deemed in the past to be a strategic reason to be there. And really a question on that note then is to our assistant town clerk, do we know if we don't take the service on, will we lose the grip bins?
Yeah, they will, if they're going to disrepair, they won't be replaced, they will lose the service. And also if
any member of the community requested a bin for the council, we would approve it.
But just one clarification on that, if you can. You say if the bin becomes into disrepair, they won't replace it. Will they continue to fill it?
No.
Because these bins are quite robust, you know, they don't break unless they're vandalised. You know, they are, you know, they don't wear and tear. So my more concern is we could probably review a community request for a grip bin slightly different than taking a service on. Will they continue to fill the grip bin if we don't take the service on?
Yes, so they continue to fit at the start of each season, but they will refill it during the season. Again, thank you.
So, okay, just to finalise on that point then, well, my view would be that we don't take the bins on responsibility for the bins. And if a community requests come in for a replacement or a new one, then we deal with that under the community grant scheme. Would be my view. Councillor Gray wants to come back in, and Councillor James.
Yeah, just a small point. Whether it's Norfolk Road, which would be a community grip bin, or it's Lanehouse Rocks, which is a major route grip bin, they're still part of the highway, which is a statutory obligation of Dorset Council. So whether it's a community bin for community use on a highway, it's still Dorset Council's responsibility. If they're saying they won't fill them, then they'll have to deal with that issue at the time. But it seems to me it's very small cost, whether it be us or them filling it, very small cost. But it's the principle of it's highway issue. We're not responsible for any other highways issues. Let's be clear about that. We don't cut lawn, we don't cut verges because they're on the highway. We don't sweep the roads, we don't weed, we don't resurface. So why are we doing grip bin? It's the same issue in my view. It's creep. Thank you.
I've got Councillor Rose and Councillor James.
I was just going to say, as Councillor David Gray has said, it's not our responsibility. But I think we also need to turn that whole discourse around again. This is Dorset Council's job. If they don't get filled, those grip bins, that's not our fault. We're not Dorset Council. That's Dorset Council's fault. If community groups want their grip bin filled up, campaign Dorset Council. That's what they're paying, that's who they're paying their taxes to right now to do that job for them. And we shouldn't be discussing it as though it would fall on us if residents didn't have their grip bins. It's Dorset Council, so they should do it. It's not our responsibility.
Councillor James.
Yeah, I have to agree. All I can remember is when we had the highways agency under the old council, and it was something I had to deal with. And I remember campaigning to get some more grip bins because we didn't have them. And because we have the highways, we had to make them. And that was, so when they've all got signed back over to the highways and Dorset Council, I don't know what's happened there, but no, I agree with Councillor Roos that we shouldn't be paying them twice to do a job. All I will say is that they don't see those ones in community areas, residential areas as essential because there was a lot of fighting going on to get those grip bins in the first place. And throwing the cat among the pigeons here, you're always going to get, there'll be, you know, if the roads conditions are that adverse, they'll be saying to you, you shouldn't be driving anyway. So, but I agree, we shouldn't be paying them. I don't think we should take them on. And like Councillor Wakeland said, and Councillor Roos, we need to be putting it back out on our webpage that what we do and who people should be contacting, and it's not us. When you said that you're keeping the community ones, I was going to say then that we need to make sure we know exactly how many there are and not just take their word for it. But, you know, I think if you agree that we shouldn't take them, any of them on, that's fine.
Okay, we've got anybody else? No. Okay, I'm looking for a recommendation from the committee.
I'll propose if you want. That we accept the recommendation, sorry, that we reject it, sorry.
Propose that we do not take on the adoption of 24 grip bins from Dorset Council.
Yes.
That's proposed by Councillor James. I have a seconder to that proposal, Councillor Roos. Sorry.
That can be a different one, yeah.
Okay, so do I have anyone that wishes to speak to the proposal that we do not adopt the group bins? No, no one wishes to speak. Okay, so all those in favour of the proposal, show of hands. That's 9. Any against? 1. There's no abstentions. So that recommendation is carried. Wayne Town Council will not be adopting 24 grip bins. And the Deputy Town Clerk has said that they've taken the note as an action forward regarding the services on the website, so there's no need to vote on that. Okay, moving on to item 9, information items. I've received no pre-notified questions on the items, so they are there just for noting. If any members of the committee does have questions on anything, please do. Councillor Lambert.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The fun fair, if you recall, at there was a full council meeting, and it may not be appropriate for this meeting, but I think the fun fair issue did start off in services. I would like to see a regular update from officers appearing on this item to keep it in everybody's forefront.
Councillor Lambert, can I just ask which information item you're referring to?
Well, there isn't one there, and I'm suggesting that we need in future to have an information item indicating, giving us an update on what's happening, because we need to be on top of this. We don't want to be in the same position next January, February that we were in this year. So that's a request, Chair. It may be the officers feel it's more appropriate that it goes to full, becomes an information item for full council, but I don't mind. Thank you.
Well, I'll do, Councillor Lambert. I'll take your comment on board on that, obviously. I'll ask the Assistant Town Clerk to send all members of this council an update following the Easter break of anything that has occurred or any actions that have been dealing with. So all members of council are in the loop of what's going on. I will remind members, as per the request that went out, if any member of the council does receive any correspondence on the fairground, please can they make sure that is sent to our Assistant Town Clerk for logging and the appropriate response. That's so there's a coordinated and constant response going back to anyone that raises anything. And obviously, if you do wish for a standing item to be on the agenda, but when we have one, do you want it on every agenda? Bearing in mind, there may be times within the agenda that we don't have any fairground operating, or there might be periods in between, or are you happy just to receive the ad hoc update?
The motion included a request to come up with a new plan for next year. And it's that, and I'm anxious that we don't lose sight of that. So if you like, I'm looking for a regular update as to how officers are proceeding, so that if necessary, we can support them or give advice or whatever is necessary.
Assistant Town Clerk, anything to add? You're happy with that?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. If members feel it'd be more beneficial, we could also always have a working group, Councillor Lambert, similar to we did with the vehicles. Maybe every couple of months meet to discuss it if any members would find it easier. Alternatively, happy to provide an update, but as per Councillor Hope's comment, for example, in June, I don't think we've got any fairgrounds, so it depends on when they're operating, but I can provide an update on other areas of fairground operation regarding licenses and leases where I can.
Yeah, perhaps I'm not being, sorry, thanks for that. But just to be clear, I mean, for my money, and this is why I intervened in the way that I did, we need to have the fun fair here, which though it's not my personal view, but I recognise the need for Weymouth. But B, we cannot have it at the pavilion. And so there is a request to find alternative sites, and that's what I want to be updated on, you know, how the fund fairs are going on this year,
Yeah, thank you for that.
just to be clear.
We understand that clarity now, so it's more on the proposals for more alternative venues next year.
Yeah.
I think what we can do is we'll add an item on the agenda for the next meeting to appoint a working group. Because we're obviously going to be under the new committee for next year. And then we can start the ball rolling on that to start ready for the recommendations towards the end of the year. Councillor James.
Can we include in that a tendering process, because we did have another operator that requested that he be taken into consideration. So I think we need to make sure that we look at other operators as well as other sites. That needs to be included in the fees.
If any of the assistant town clerk just to respond on that.
The council James, I can provide an update where we are completely on that. So we've got a fairground for the first Maybank holiday and the second Maybank holiday. And having spoken to all local regular fairground operators, it's been agreed between them that one operator will operate those ones. And then going forward for future fairgrounds and pavilion forecourt, and that there's Jubilee clock, we are going to be going out for bids, and that's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks, whether we circulate the paperwork, so it is fair and transparent. Obviously, we do have the children's right that we have to take into consideration, so that some of that information will be included in the end documents, but it's down to the operators to decide if they can or cannot bid, depending on the rights.
Yeah, as long as we do, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I think members will be happy that obviously the work's going on, and like I say, we've asked the assistant town clerk to send us all an update following the first break. So, back onto the agenda then, information items for noting, obviously if there is anything on there that members will request any information on, please do contact the relevant officer. Actions from previous meeting, obviously the updates there on the items, and then forward plan, which brings me on nicely to the close of this meeting. Before I do, just a personal thank you to all members of this committee this year. There's a few missing this evening. I believe this is our last services meeting for this civic year. So maybe some changes after the annual meeting. But I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank everyone for their input into the services committee meetings, support given to myself as chair, and of course the officers for their ongoing support to this committee and Weymouth Town Council as a whole. So on that note, I'd like to close the meeting at 19:30.